The book Path to Enlightenment. Introduction. This is a translation of the book Budun Wadala Sowan Maga, which is based on the 4-day meditation retreats conducted by the Venerable Walalgoda Chandaratana Thero in the Isipatana meditation centers and various other locations in Sri Lanka. It is based on one of the most well-known and popular teachings of the Buddha, the discourse on the 4 foundations of mindfulness, known as Satipatthana Sutta. In Satipatthana Sutta, Buddha clearly mentions monks. This is the direct path for the purification of beings, for the surmounting of sorrow and lamentation, for the disappearance of suffering and discontent, for acquiring the true method, for the realization of enlightenment, namely the 4 foundations of mindfulness. In the end of this discourse, Buddha clearly mentioning that if anyone should develop these 4 foundations of mindfulness in such a way for 7 days, one of 2 fruits could be expected for him: either final enlightenment here and now, or if there is a trace of clinging left, none returning. So it was with reference to this that was said by Buddha. In this Path to Enlightenment book, Bhante Gunaratana, Chief Abbot and founder of Bhavana Society, West Virginia, forwarding this book and mentioning in this way: spiritual urgency. Philosophers, scientists, mathematicians, and psychologists have long recognized impermanence, but have not made use of this knowledge in the manner that the Buddha did. The nature of the Dhamma, because whether Tathagata appear or do not appear, there is this establishment element of Dhamma, this fixed law of Dhamma. All that is conditioned is impermanent. To this, a Tathagata fully awakens and fully understands. So awakened and thus understanding, he announces, points out, declares, establishes, expounds, explains, classifies, and clarifies it. All that is conditioned is impermanent. Because whether Tathagata appear or do not appear, there is this establishment, condition of Dhamma, this fixed law of Dhamma. All that is conditioned is unsatisfactory. To this is a Tathagata, fully awakens and fully understand, so awakened and thus understanding, he announces, points out, declares, establishes, expounds, explains, and clarifies it. All that is conditioned is unsatisfactory. Because whether Tathagatas appear or do not appear, there is this established condition of Dhamma. This is fixed law of Dhamma. All Dhammas are without self. To this, a Tathagata fully awakens and fully understands. So awakened and understanding, he announces, points out, declares, establishes, expounds, explains, and clarifies it. All Dhammas are without self. All the senses and their respective objects, past, present, future, internal, external, subtle, gross, low, high, far, near, all of them are impermanent, and everyone can, to some extent, understand impermanence. But deep down in our subconscious mind, a strong sense of permanence lurks. We keep patching up our broken teeth, moisturizing our dry, wrinkled skin, polishing our brittle nails, dyeing our grey hair, exercising our hatched back, fixed our weak eyes and impaired hearing, and trying to cure many types of illness and many other things brought about by the impermanence of our fragile bodies. Our moods, feelings, thoughts, perceptions, and memories all go through many changes in every moment as well. We take medicine, we see mental health specialists, and do many other things, including meditation, to correct our minds. All the while, as we constantly do all of these things, impermanence is still methodically working at destroying everything inside of our bodies and our minds, while all of our organs, cells, our entire nervous system, the quality of our blood, our lungs' capacity to absorb oxygen, and even our bone structures are going through these very rapid and unmistakable changes. And no matter how much we patch up our on the surface and beneath our skin, impermanence is working its course very consistently. Nothing on earth, no magic, no technology, not even science can stop this change. It keeps on burning everything systematically. Impermanence consumes everything without exception. Seeing impermanence is the key that opens our mind to see suffering and non-self. The moment we understand this very clearly, we realize that things change without leaving a trace behind to find the path the impermanence has taken. This awareness evaporates the desire for anything permanent. It also evaporates hatred or re-entertainment from our mind. Then naturally, this clean mind becomes fully aware of not having any immovable mover, which is sometimes called self or soul. This element of Dhamma, this intrinsic nature of all conditioned things, this law of Dhamma is known in Buddhism as emptiness of self. Seeing impermanence with wisdom is the key to non-attachment, cessation, and the abandonment of craving. After discovering impermanence, the Buddha went a few steps further and saw the connection between impermanency, suffering, selflessness, and the elimination of suffering. He did not try to stop impermanence by attaining enlightenment. He knew that any attempt to stop impermanence is a futile waste of time and energy. He realized that impermanence has a very direct relationship with suffering. It is the clinging to impermanent things that causes suffering. By not clinging to impermanent things, that suffering can finally be brought to an end. The Buddha points out the Mahasunyata Sutta that suffering arises from the attachment to impermanent things. I do not see even a single kind of form, Ananda, from the change and alteration of which there would not arise sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair in one who lusts for it and take delight in it. Suffering arises from the attachment to impermanent form. The same goes for the attachment to impermanent feeling, impermanent perception, impermanent volitional formation, and impermanent consciousness. By eliminating craving for impermanent things, we can attain full enlightenment and end suffering. This happens not because we make any impermanent things permanent. This happens only when we give up our craving for and our thoughts of attachment to impermanent things. Impermanent things continue to be impermanent, whether we attain enlightenment or not. We do not and cannot stop impermanent nature that exists, whether the Buddha come into existence or not. If impermanence itself caused suffering, then even enlightened individuals like Buddha would continue to suffer because they were not able to stop impermanence from being impermanent. They can stop suffering by not being attached to impermanent things, but they cannot make impermanent objects permanent. Seeing thus the impermanence, suffering, and selflessness of all conditioned things, one becomes disenchanted with everything. Disenchantment leads to dispassion towards everything. With the dispassionate mind, one sees the cessation of everything. With this insight or wisdom, one lets go of attachment. This is how one becomes insightful into reality. Being dispassionate, he becomes liberated from suffering. Being liberated from suffering, he knows that he is liberated, ended birth, lived the noble life, and has done what was to be done, with nothing more to be done. This means that attaining full liberation from suffering, beings with the perfect awareness of impermanence. The holy life here is the life lived in accordance with the Noble Eightfold Path. Here we must remember that disenchantment does not mean anything negative. It is the most positive and mature attitude of someone who has grown into spiritual adulthood. The Buddha has given a very meaningful simile of children playing with sand castles on a beach. While making the sand castles and playing with them, children imagine they are real castles. After a while, they grow tired of playing with their castles. Then they break them and scatter them here and there. Adults watching them playing with the sand castles are assumed, reflecting on the nature of the children's mind. Neither the adults nor children are disgusted or disappointed with the sand castles. They simply let the castles go and be disintegrated. Similarly, we see that attachment to impermanent objects, form, feelings, perceptions, thoughts, and consciousness causes suffering to arise. While we are enjoying pleasure, all the objects that give us pleasure change without giving us any warning or prior notice. Then suffering arises. Suppose you are enjoying a very delicious food or drink. Then somebody abruptly snatches it away from you. In the same way, while nourishing the thought of attachment to sensory objects, impermanence snatches them away without giving us any advance notice. As we live at the consent of impermanence, we constantly suffer. Disattachment leads to spiritual urgency. Seeing the nature of the Dhamma, awareness arises in us that we are losing everything. We have time, energy, strength, dexterity, agility, health. Every second we lose time by seconds, minutes, hours, days, weeks, months, and years. We have no reason to be proud of living long. Living long simply means losing years, not gaining one fraction of a second, and making us weaker and weaker until we become decrepit. This is the nature. The Dhamma that the Buddha spoke about in the Dhammanyama Sutta. Seeing this very nature of Dhamma, urgency arises in us to accelerate our spiritual practice like meditation. This is known as Dhamma Savaga in Pali. Some means collectively or altogether. Vega in Pali means high speed. Only those who don't see this truth, this Dhamma, this nature of existence, wait until Metteyya Buddha appears to listen for noble truth and attain enlightenment. They even say, by the power of this merit, may all our parents, siblings, relatives, and friends meet Metteyya Buddha. Listen to one sermon on the Four Noble Truths delivered by him in his sweetest voice and attain full enlightenment in one sitting in the Dhamma hall. My question is, what wrong has Gautama Buddha done for these people to ignore and bypass him and aspire to meet Maitreya Buddha and listen to his teachings for noble truths? Would he teach something different than the Four Noble Truths? These people are too sluggish and ignorant of the spiritual urgency. We must accelerate and hurry up to attain at least stream entry before our death. We have no time to be complacent. The slower the practice, the lazier we get. We even might lose interest. We don't know where will we be reborn. There is no guarantee that we will be reborn as human beings with all the senses are in good condition, with mental and physical good health. What helps us to speed up? We must follow the Noble Eightfold Path, which is be cultivated, bhave tabba, to be reflected upon, meditated and put into practice. Putting the entire Noble Eightfold Path into practice is the best way to make the Dhamma really meaningful. Practicing the Noble Eightfold Path is the best karma, which is our relative, our refuge, our friend, and the origin of our life. We must become born from this noble karma, as we are all subjected to our own karma. Let us make this noble karma our parents. Buddha advised us who sometime are infatuated with good health, youthfulness, longevity, wealth, reputation, education, and numerous achievements to arouse our spiritual urgency by paying total undivided attention to the very nature of our life. We find nothing to trade or exchange with impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and selflessness. No matter how much we wish impermanence to be permanent, unsatisfactoriness to be satisfactory, or selflessness to be self, we can find no counterparts of them. Whether we love or hate them, we must accept them. So the noble disciples of the Buddha reflect on the nature of old age, sicknesses, separation from loved ones, death, and karma, and realize that they are all natural occurrences. The nature of impermanence is called Dhamma. Impermanence happens without any interference to all existing things, including us. We are victims of the automatic impermanence, which simply happens on its own. Not realizing this nature of impermanence, we wish to cling to impermanent things, even though we don't want to cling to anything. Our unliberated minds have a wish to cling to anything pleasant and reject anything unpleasant. This clinging nature causes becoming and birth. Clinging is the mere wish, a thought in reality, because of the very nature of impermanence. We cannot cling to anything. An attempt to cling to anything is like trying to balance a mustard seed on a tip of a moving needle. Buddha asks us to reflect. I subject to birth. I am not gone beyond birth. I am subjected to decay and death, and not gone beyond decay and death. When causes and conditions are there, birth, decay and death naturally take place. Noble disciples reflect very mindfully on how birth takes place. They don't reflect how I take birth. Unenlightened persons think how I take birth. They say, this is my birth. It is not my birth, because the so-called I did not plan it. Because of desire and ignorance, we commit karma. The combination of these three makes rebirth possible. It just happens to me. Our spiritual urgency arises seeing 8 kinds of occurrence, such as birth, growth, sicknesses, death, birth in woeful states, suffering from past actions, suffering in the future as the result of past and present actions, and searching for food in the present life. The Buddha, our best physician or best surgeon, has prescribed the items for us to use as subjects of our daily reflections. To overcome various kinds infatuation that makes us ignorant and neglect our spiritual practice. Buddha's advice to us is to strive very hard right now to realize the truth without postponing for tomorrow what we are supposed to do today. What is our duty? This is the duty of even animals. Our duty must be something greater than eating, drinking, and enjoying pleasure. Nobody knows whether we will live one more day. We have not made an agreement with Mara. With death, we have not made any agreement with Mara that death should wait until we finish our job. Mara can snatch us at any moment and end our life. That the function of impermanence, we must reflect on this truth every single moment, not just once or twice a year. But even reflecting on our death is not enough. We must be prepared for our death. How can we prepare for it? Writing our will, settling our business, selling our shares, lying on the highway? No, these are foolish ways of preparing for death. Seeing impermanence wisely, we must make the best use of each passing moment. Practice mindfulness. Make friends with yourself and protect yourself. How can you protect yourself? Going to cave, hiding behind a tree or inside of a house, going to a temple and putting on monastic garb, having many bodyguards, ensuring every hair of our body and head. No, none of these things protect us. We must restrain our sense from harming any living beings. We must abstain from stealing, abusing our senses, telling lies, slanderous talks, harsh speech and gossip, and harboring hatred too, so that we will not suffer from a guilty conscience. We must abstain from all things so that in every passing moment we can live happily. We must cultivate thoughts of friendliness, compassion, appreciative joy, equanimity, and generosity to experience peace and happiness in every passing moment. We must keep our mind clean and pure in order to live every passing moment meaningfully. We must meditate in every possible passing moment in order to live a happy life and prepare to die at any moment. Then we will be able to die peacefully without confusion. Dying with a clean and peaceful mind is the best way to die. This is how we prepare ourselves for death. Despite the modern, thriving technological advancement, Buddhism also is gaining ground every nook and corner of the world. Buddhist philosophy, Buddhist moral and ethics, above all Buddhist meditation, particularly Vipassana meditation, is gaining more and more popularity. Modern scientists, psychologists, psychotherapists, and psychoanalysts are doing more and more research to find and understand the secret of this success of Buddhist practice, as it is spreading all over the world without any economic, political, and academic support. More and more people are becoming more curious than ever before about the secret of peaceful teachings of the supremely enlightened Buddha in the restless, sensual, pleasure-oriented world. If the message is clear and its benefits and immediately effective and powerful, people naturally follow it willingly even without powerful authors. Big organizing machines, powerful propaganda machine, or without enormous amount of time, energy and capital. Buddha's message delivers what the time calls us. This is the most important time in human history when the Dhamma is absolutely necessary to balance the life of people who are living in very chaotic time. The message of the Buddha brings them solace and comfort now more than ever before. Venerable Badulle Suryaratana has studied meditation under very eminent teachers and from method found in numerous Pali texts. His indispensable book on Vipassana meditation has come at right time, when meditation has long been in discussion and practice. His presentation in this book makes an important contribution to understanding the theory and practice of meditation, karma and rebirth in the Buddha's teaching. His discussion of the subject is bound to draw the attention of people interested in meditation, as well as those who are already practicing meditation, even though there are several books on this subject. The discussion he presents in this book offers invaluable information for wider range of population keen in practicing meditation. The world needs well-educated, well-trained and well-disciplined monks and nuns to impart these marvelous teachings of Buddha. The Buddha's message is clear and loud. The world is waiting for selfless Buddhist missionaries like Suryaratana, willing to serve the millions of enthusiastic people hungry for Buddha Dhamma. This is Bante Henipola Gunaratana, Forest Meditation Monastery Bhavana Society, West Virginia, USA. You can download the book Path to Enlightenment e-copies from the website amazon.com.